I've only got to push one of these buttons, and it's Thunderbirds are go.
When your life and your love are in danger, and your heart is in distress, call International Rescue by sending an SOS, and they'll blast off into action just as soon as Thunderbird 1 slides down a ramp under a retracting swimming pool. Virgil has reached Thunderbird 2 via a series of slides, chooses a pod, puts his uniform on, and trundles down the runway and onto a very slow ramp. Thunderbird 3 has been boarded via an elaborate sofa system, and Alan has made his way into a cockpit via a lift, and Thunderbird 4 has been transported to the danger zone, and Gordon has recovered from concussion. Yes, International Rescue with its supersonic fleet can travel anywhere in the world within an hour, largely to catch up on the hour they've wasted already.
Have you luck, Sky? Get easy, Scar.
But who cares? Thunderbirds is a fantasy, and let he who hasn't pretended their car is Thunderbird 2 cast the first stone. Yes, sir. I am talking to you. And no, you're not taking evasive action. You're just leaving Junction 12 of the M4. This week we'll be boarding our yellow submarine and standing by for action as we're about to launch Thunderbird 4. Of the 4 moving Thunderbird machines, Thunderbird 4 has the most irregular launch sequence. Although Thunderbirds 2 and 3 had changeable elements to their launches, the basic structure remained the same. However, because Thunderbird 4 had to be launched in a variety of locales, its launch sequence isn't anywhere near as fixed. But that's not to say there aren't common elements, though. So let's have a look at the basic original sequence. It's difficult to pinpoint for definite which episode Thunderbird 4 originally debuted in, but it was most likely The Mighty Atom, one of the original half-hour episodes. Thunderbird 4 does appear in Operation Crash Dive, but it appears not to have been part of the original version of that episode, as the Fireflash Ocean Bed sequence was likely added a year later. There are shots of it being filmed in 1965. Either way, though, both The Mighty Atom and Operation Crash Dive are home to the original stock shots. First up, we have Thunderbird 2, rockets firing, lowering into position. This comes in a single variation, as do these shots of the pod impressively landing in water. Then we cut to Thunderbird 2, which departs podless, and wrecks endless tedious fan theories about how it flies. Then we come to the pod door opening, which is seen in 2 variants. Operation Crash Dive and Day of Disaster use the version on the right, while The Mighty Atom is the only use of the shot on the left, which not only is taken from a different angle, but is also much quicker. This cutaway to Gordon appears in The Mighty Atom only. Then it's back outside for the launch. This also comes in 2 versions. The left-hand side is seen in The Mighty Atom and Operation Crash Dive, while the right side appears in Day of Disaster and Atlantic Inferno, which gives us the longest version of the shot. Once again, in the left-hand version, the action unfolds at a much quicker pace. The shot of Thunderbird 4 diving is a standard single shot seen in The Mighty Atom, Operation Crash Dive, Day of Disaster and Desperate Intruder. This is the beginning of a series of underwater stock shots, used as appropriate throughout the series. This shot, in which Thunderbird 4 enters frame and takes up position, appears in The Mighty Atom and Desperate Intruder, while this take, with the super sub passing through frame, turns up in Terror in New York City and Operation Crash Dive. The Mighty Atom alone features this static shot, while Desperate Intruder is the only episode to see this shot of Thunderbird 4 pulling away. And that's your lot. Within the remits of the strand of this Thunderbirds Unseen series, we're only looking at the original 1964 stock shots. Oh, all right, we'll stretch a point this once, but it will leave us a lot less time for our in-depth look at Thunderbird 5. Thunderbird 4 could also be launched directly from Tracy Island by travelling down the runway and off the edge of the ramp. However, if International Rescue deployed this launch method, and you're any further away than the local corner shop, well, start writing your will now, as Thunderbird 4 isn't very fast. In the series, this method of launching is only seen in Terror in New York City, but we do get a brief glimpse of a Technicolor version in Thunderbird 6.
Thunderbird 4. Capable of withstanding the pressure of the depth.
The most similar alternative version to the 1964 launch are the ones seen in Atlantic Inferno. These use a combination of the original 1964 footage and newly shot 1966 footage to incorporate both the sealing device and the nearby fire jets.
Thunderbird 2 from Thunderbird 4. Okay, Virgil. Release sealing device. Now!
Then there are two alternative technique launches used in The Man from MI5 and Attack of the Alligators. In both these episodes, Thunderbird 2 gently deposits the pod, no doubt after complaints to HR, and then lifts up and away. The Man from MI5 version is the only Thunderbirds launch that any behind-the-scenes footage exists of. Well, bar the odd 6-frame sequence from the test strips. This just leaves Desperate Intruder, in which Thunderbird 4 launches from the side of Lake Anasta. This uses newly shot material until Thunderbird 4 enters the water.
Stand by for launch, Gordon.
FAB, Virgil. Thunderbird 4 to Thunderbird 2 on base control. Commencing launch.
And now to conclude. Yes. Yes. No. Don't be silly. No. All right then. Apparently, before we wrap this series up, we have to show Thunderbird 5. Well, poor unloved Thunderbird 5 is principally seen in this shot panning up from the Earth. If they shot it more than once, well, they didn't bother showing it with us. The longest versions of this shot appear in Trapped in the Sky and Give or Take a Million. This static shot of it hanging in space is, in fact, not just the end of the initial pan up, but a completely separate shot, which has been framed slightly differently. Unusually for a model sequence, this appears to have been shot at the standard 24 frames per second, as you can see the model wobbling on the wires very slightly. Otherwise, we only see the satellite when Thunderbird 3 is docking. First in this shot, which was originally filmed for The Uninvited, which indicates by extension that all the surrounding shots were done at the same time. And also, incidentally, note the appearance of what is possibly the knee of the flying operator on the right-hand side of frame. Then we have a close-up of the docking, which is at its longest in The Mighty Atom. Perhaps unsurprisingly, they've had a lot to pad out with that one. Then we have a static shot of the docked Thunderbird 3, which appears in Danger at Ocean Deep and the Cham Cham. But we don't see the close-up retraction shot filmed in 1964 until Ricochet in 1966. And yes, we've checked. This isn't the docking footage reversed, but a separately shot piece of film, which leaves only the shot of Thunderbird 3 flying away, which appears in Danger at Ocean Deep and Ricochet. Other than these shots, Thunderbird 5 is only seen in 3 other variations, all shot for the Thunderbirds films. These ones that appear in Argo, and this one that appears in 6.
Thunderbird 5, Space Monitor, capable of receiving or intercepting distress calls from any part of the world.
And now to conclude Thunderbirds Unseen the launches, here is the original Thunderbird 4 launch sequence, shot in 1964, with the longest variation of every possible shot. Next time, The Estate Agent's Guide to Tracy Island. Early viewing recommended.